after AEW released the security footage from the altercation backstage with CM Punk and Jack Perry from the All-In pay-per-view last year at Wembley, most wrestling fans thought that was just ridiculous, and that it was nothing in the end. It was nothing different from what was reported. That, you know, it was Punk got him in a choke. Punk pushed him first, got him in a chokehold. But then actually, you know, people out there at the time were saying that on the reports that CM Punk sucker punched Jack Perry, and it was clear as day from the footage that didn't happen. So you had people there making up lies to make Punk look bad, that he'd sucker punched somebody. But everything that Punk said, though, what happened was true. And, you know, from when he did that interview with Ariel Helwani. And, you know, Tony Khan, I think, had his problems with Ariel Helwani in the past. He called him a fraud, I remember. But this is just, it's just not a good look. It just isn't a good look for AEW and for Tony Khan. And most people realised it was a bad mistake. You could kind of see after the footage was aired that Tony Schiavone realised it was a bad mistake. Tony Schiavone can go on his podcast and claim, oh no, I was selling the footage. But it was clear that, like, the way he was looking away, trying to, like, create distance from his fellow commentators, and it was like he just didn't want to be there, part of it. It was quite obvious that, you know, he knew that this was the shits. But with this with AEW, you know, you could say, well, look, it was a ratings grab. They were desperate. Yeah, fair enough. And they got there was a bit of a pop in the ratings. They got 890,000 viewers on average from last week's show. But now this week, it's dropped back down to 762,000 viewers. So they got a bit of a jump in the ratings. People thought, okay, I want to tune in Dynamite, see the footage. And yeah, I get that. But then nothing out of the ordinary happened in the footage. It was just like a total nothing burger. And it seems that only Tony Khan's the only one that thought this was a good idea. Because the thing is, yeah, I get the whole argument of, for the ratings, like, okay, yeah. But it was done, you know, it was done out of desperation. And doing things out of desperation in the long run is never good. It's never good at all. And most people now are being really critical of Tony Khan. You got the people who are critical of Tony Khan anyway, and that just gives him more ammunition, right? But now you've got the people who are kind of more like AEW Tony Khan fanboys now that are criticizing him. People like Meltzer, I don't think they are. Meltzer will always be drinking the Kool-Aid. But now you've got a guy like JD from New York who's blasting Tony Khan. And when you're losing people like JD from New York, who is acting before like the sun shined out of their backsides, AEW, then you're in trouble, right? So he's got a title here. He's always got these clickbaity titles. Did Tony Khan basically admit he hates the fans, that he's never wrong because ratings? And again, this is the thing. Well, it should be about ratings. This is where I lose him, because then he's making the argument, it should be more about the quality, the wrestling and stuff like that. But it's about, in the end, it's a show. It's a television show, and it is about ratings. But still, though, he's blasting Tony Khan because, again, JD and many of people, you know, they knew it was bullshit, the whole thing about the footage, and trying to tie it into this feud with the Young Bucks and FDR. It still is kind of like nonsensical, because it's, again, it's just like it's like you're breaking the fourth wall when you see that footage and you see Hook, who's in the back, who just had a big match, and he's had a real, like, intense, vicious feud with Jungle Boy, but he's there in the back, almost kind of like there along next to Samoa Joe, trying to hold him back, saying something to him. Again, it's just like, it's like curtain call style shit, you know what I mean? And so tying it into a feud doesn't really make any sense, really, when you think about it. But I'm going to play this clip here of JD blasting Tony Khan, and you know, for him trying to defend. He was trying to defend releasing the footage, the security footage from the All-In pay-per-view. So here we go.
The decision to air All-In London footage 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, it might have been a controversial one, but those at TBS seemingly had no problem with the call. The footage was broadcast on the April 10th episode of Dynamite, mere days after CM Punk had given what turned out to be a relatively accurate recollection of the events that day. Though Tony Khan has said airing the footage was solely to create the best show for fans, many believe it was an effort to get back at Punk for critical comments made about AEW. It was also a way to generate a ratings boost, which wasn't much of a ratings boost. 812,000 is not much of a ratings boost, especially after where they were this week with the ratings. 762,000 ratings, so I don't know where the interest is coming from, Tony, but it was definitely a ratings ploy to get the ratings up, because Mercedes, even though she's not wrestling, Mercedes hasn't made a lick of a difference. Okada hasn't made a lick of a difference. And Will Ospreay, love Will Ospreay, hasn't made a lick of a difference. To many airing, the footage appears to have backfired on Tony Khan and damaged AEW's reputation more than it did any harm to Punk. Speaking on the AEW Dynasty media call, which I was not invited to. However, Khan said the show was given a seal of approval from those at TBS. He says, and I quote, "TBS called me and told me, good job. You have to remember, I'm responsible for everybody's job in the company. It is really important for us to please the network and TBS, and they were really happy with that show." Now, Khan's eagerness to please those at TBS, obviously, in my eyes, he's doing what's best for the business, but it looks like he's aiming to please those at TBS and then leave us, the fans, the people who pay their hard-earned money and are going to be the most vocal and critical of the product, for the love of the product. It seems like he's leaving us out of the discussion. 5 years ago, the Tony Khan of old would have taken the fans' criticisms. If he didn't like something, he'd immediately fix it. And now he's looking at the ratings as being the number one indicator that he's doing a good job. Tony, you're not. You didn't. This didn't work. It failed. It flopped. It backfired. There's no interest at all. I don't see where the interest is. I'd love for someone to fucking physically tell me where the interest is in this. There's not. I'd be the first to tell you how great it is. I'd be the first to tell you how good they are going into the pay-per-view. The company is ice fucking cold going into the pay-per-view. The Young Bucks and FTR is ice cold going into the pay-per-view. You used it as a vehicle to manufacture heat where there is none. They got there because they're in a fucking tournament together. I don't understand how many more times I need to document this, go over this with you people. If they wanted to air the footage, they should have aired the footage weeks after it actually happened last year. And now you want to sell me on an FTR and Young Bucks feud where they are going around parading, saying that, oh, we lost the match last year in London to FTR because of this particular instance. Meanwhile, literally a week later, after All In last year, they teamed with FTR to battle the Bullet Club. Or am I going fucking mental?
There you go from JD from NY. You're not going to have me do all these big rants like JD from NY. You know, it seems to be just if you shout and scream, then you can get, 150,000 plus subscribers. But with this stuff, there's some stuff there that he's right on. He is right on. A blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. These people that they're bringing in haven't made a difference. Adam Copeland, Mercedes Moné, Okada, who they're supposedly paying $4 million a year, they haven't made a difference to the ratings. And are they making a difference? Are they drawing big houses every week for Dynamite? It's like, no, it's like a quarter full. Like, it's bad. It's bad. I mean, sometimes the business, it can be in a bad place. I went to a house show in 2010, and it was like, I think it was like Kane Drew McIntyre was the title match, and it was like, a third full. But it's just business. Well, AEW right now is in a pretty bad place with, attendances. WWE seems to be improving. But it's just only Tony Khan seems to think it was a good idea to show the footage. And I think I've noticed that Tony Khan, when something that was done on the show was questionable to the masses,